I have noticed that once guys reach a certain level of singleness, it is like a black hole from which they usually never escape. Why is that, and what can be done to help these men? Story 1. I call this institutionalized singleness. I never learned how to have a relationship, and now I am at an age where nobody would bother with me after they find out. Story 2. I can only speak for myself. It has been made perfectly clear to me when I was actively trying to date that I am so low on the desirability scale that it is a burden and an absolute waste of time to even spend time with me, much less date me. I am severely unattractive and have a chronic illness. Being my partner is not ideal even to the most basic woman. So why continue trying? How much more rejection do I have to experience to finally say, all right, I get it, I am done? When am I allowed to just give up for my own self-esteem and respect? My dating attempts fit the textbook definition of insanity, not in execution but in the belief that I am allowed love. I do not believe there is someone for everyone based on experience. Some people just do not have that card in their deck of fate, and I am all right with that. This is not a self-deprecation post nor a pity me post. This is what I truly believe based on almost a decade of constant rejection despite my efforts to learn and adapt new strategies. I no longer look for it and believe if it is meant for me, it will happen organically. Since women very rarely approach my experience, my best friend, for example, has the opposite problem. Perhaps it is just not meant for me. I have to be all right with that because I have no other choice, and I need to be for my own sanity. Story 3. You reach a point where your happiness level accepting solitude is greater than your average happiness level riding the hopefulness-disappointment roller coaster. One only feels the low lows of constant disappointment so many times before not wanting to feel that way anymore. Story 4. It's just that they get used to being alone, accepting that this is their life. After spending years trying and having a horrible time dating, there comes a point where it is not worth it. If you have not had children, there comes a time when you have to give up on that dream. Having peace and being single is much better than being in a miserable relationship. Story 5. You get used to being single, and it becomes difficult to even think about someone entering your life. You have this level of peace, and peace is intoxicating. Instead of thinking about what a partner could add to your life, you think about what you would lose. Is it worth losing this peace for a partner? Will they stop me from doing the things that I enjoy each day? Story 6. They don't need saving. They have found their peace. Once a man becomes comfortable by himself, there is little reason to add chaos back into his life. It is rare for a woman not to bring chaos. Story 7. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me keep slamming my efforts in dating failure so that you don't have to be uncomfortable with my perpetual singleness. It's because we finally reached the point where we understand that we are, in fact, struggling on a romantic level and have to come to terms with that. Story 8. Women tend to like men that other women like. If you hit 0, it is hard to break out. Anecdotal, but hearing my girlfriend's friend group talk about men, sometimes men can get dismissed or raise flags by showing up to events and social situations alone. So, if you are a man stuck in a social rut with no potential partners and no friend group, it seems like you are fighting a war on two fronts. Story 9. Well, if you are out of luck finding a partner for a long time, what else can you do but accept, cope, and try to move on alone? Some things cannot be helped, and you have to adapt. Story 10. There is nothing wrong with not wanting to be in a relationship. The idea that relationship equals success and being single equals failure is unhealthy and toxic behavior. Adults are free to live their lives however they choose. There are many reasons why a man may not want to be in a relationship. He may have been in an abusive relationship and does not want to risk that again. He may find dating exhausting and not worth the effort. He may travel, work, or have other obligations that make building and maintaining a relationship impractical. He may enjoy being self-sufficient. He might simply not feel the need to be in a relationship. All of these reasons are valid and reasonable. There is no reason to tell any of these men that their feelings are wrong or that they are failures for making the decisions they have made. Lastly, these men do not need to be saved any more than men in relationships need to be saved from their partners. Let us treat people with respect and not judge them simply because they have different life goals and make different relationship decisions than you. Story 11. As a man who has been single for 11 years, you start to ask yourself why bother when you have had so much confirmation that dating is not in the cards. I have tried my best, and all I got in return was constantly being cheated on or used as a backup until their ex or another man shows up. 11 years. I envy the men who say that confidence is key because I used to have plenty. Now I just cannot seem to bother with it. Story 12. If pursuing something does not make you happy for any reason, why keep at it? Whether dating or otherwise. Story 13. My over 50-year-old brother told me he was too picky and that all the good ones were taken. Eventually, he said he was just used to being on his own and doing what he wanted when he wanted. Story 14. Being single is all I have ever known, and the idea of integrating my psychology with someone else's is intimidating. I am open to the possibility, but I will wait until someone shows they are interested in me. In the meantime, I will continue working on my hobbies and eating tasty foods. Story 15. One factor is group selection, which can be described as momentum. If one or more women show interest in you, it signals to other women that there is something desirable about you, encouraging them to express interest as well. However, if no women show any interest, the first woman to do so takes a risk without any confirmation that this is a good idea. Success tends to lead to more success, while a lack of success is often seen as a warning sign. This may also explain why changing locations and presenting yourself as new to the area can work. In this scenario, the absence of female approval is viewed not as a red flag but as a result of logistical circumstances. Story 16. I understand why you would describe it as a black hole, but for me it was the light at the end of the tunnel. I never realized how stressed out I was trying to date, appear as a suitable partner, and take care of someone else's emotional, psychological, and physical problems. Now, I just do what I want and enjoy life, act as I wish, and explore the universe with all its miracles. I have never been in better shape, physically, economically, and spiritually, so I do not need any saving. Thanks, but I already did that myself. Story 17. Sometimes I have very dry patches. I push on and do not focus on it. Suddenly, I have scheduling issues and too much laundry. Story 18. You get used to the peace and quiet and the amount of money you have to spend on yourself, and it becomes harder and harder to want to give it up. Story 19. It is the peace and quiet men enjoy, but also the chaos of being with someone else and having children outweighs that, in my opinion. Story 20. You are assuming they want to get out of it. At a certain point, your peace of mind and your life are worth more than any relationship. Story 21. I played chess a lot when I was a kid. I was winning tournaments and more. Now, after 20 years of not playing chess, I would not be able to beat a 10-year-old kid with just a little experience. That is why I have no desire to try playing it ever again. It is the same with dating. If you lose your skill, it becomes progressively harder to get back in the game as you grow older. Story 22. Do you think they should continue being rejected, ignored, and used for free meals until they go insane and harm themselves? Giving up and finding other things to focus on in life seems like a healthier option. Story 23. Because women generally like the same men and the same things, once one woman likes you, many others do as well. If your partner does not like you, it is likely that very few women do. Story 24. I think that has a complicated answer. Scarcity of what? Of single, attractive women? The number of those usually decreases with age. If a man does not have options that he wants and finds attractive at a younger age, it is not going to get easier as he gets older unless he compromises on his standards. So, you just accept that the women you want are in your past and adopt the mantra that it is better to be single than settle. Then there is the ability to even get yourself into the dating market, which is a whole other issue centered around a man's self-esteem, personality, looks, circumstances, location, willingness to put himself out there, and the type of women in his area. After many failed attempts, if there are any attempts since opportunities tend to get fewer as we age, men might blame themselves, which can lower their self-esteem and lead to depression and isolation. They might blame women, which would lead to intentionally avoiding women and losing the desire to interact with them, resulting in further isolation. Regardless of the path, increased isolation leads to a sense of resignation. If you build a nice life for yourself, you are not going to let just anyone into that life, especially if you have seen difficult experiences with friends or family and their relationships with spouses or girlfriends. So you scrutinize women even more now and find that few, if any, women actually meet your standards and can offer you anything you want without taking away from what you have. Once again, it is better to be single than settle. Story 25. It is harder to maintain a sense of self-worth and desirability when the world seems to signal the opposite at every turn. Hence, you start acting a little more like someone who does not feel desirable and worthy, which in turn is less attractive to women. From there, the spiral starts. Maintaining your sense of self-worth and actively seeking rejection becomes more and more emotionally draining. Some lucky ones have innate, unshatterable, almost delusional self-confidence. Some learn tools to decouple their sense of worth from the actual results of dating. Most give up at some point. Story 26. Why would a single person need to be saved? Some people are perfectly happy being single. Happiness doesn't come from having a partner. Happiness is something you have to create yourself. Can a partner help? Probably, but you have to be happy first. It's like people thinking children will save a failing marriage. If you can't be happy by yourself, you have no reason to be in a relationship. A partner is in addition the cherry on top of a muffin. If the muffin tastes bad, a cherry will do nothing. Story 27. It is a vicious cycle of depression, losing confidence, and fear of the unknown that is quickly becoming more unknown. Story 28. Both of you should not assume they need saving. Perhaps they have found a level of peace that relationships do not provide. Sometimes they stop because they realize they do not want what society expects. Or they are tired of the mind games or feeling used. Or the rejections were just too much. For people in this position, there is not much you can do. It is up to them to figure out what they want. Story 29. In the 2 years since my divorce, I have paid off my student loans, lost 65 pounds, earned a promotion at work where I make 6 figures, had double jaw surgery to correct my underbite, and have been in therapy. None of it meets modern women's standards. I am done. It is crazy how much they demand of potential dates. Story 30. One of the key lessons taught to men from a very young age is the obligation to be independent and self-reliant. Western culture, in particular, ostracizes men who depend on others or develop closeness with people. This, combined with an innate preference for a peaceful life, can lead men to choose maintaining their peace over embracing the interdependence they have been taught to see as unmanly. For some, this results in remaining single. Many who are single face the choice to pursue a partnership and sacrifice their peace to achieve it or to become comfortable with being single. At its core is the perception that partnership requires sacrifice, with the expectation that concessions to maintain a relationship mean a loss of independence, something men are taught to regard as essential to manhood. Story 31. A lot of men struggle to fulfill the role they are expected to play in dating. Being the initiator, leader, making things happen, and breaking the ice. These skills do not come easily to most people and can be uncomfortable to develop. They require confidence. If you fail to develop them due to a lack of confidence, this can easily snowball. You become even less confident because of the experienced failure, which makes you less likely to succeed and less confident about succeeding in the future. Unfortunately, there are very few non-toxic resources to help you fix this. If you look for help online, you will find 2 main areas. One is women's communities, which may criticize you harshly and blame you, suggesting that the standards are too high. The other is the manosphere, a space known for its negative influence. One place will further erode your confidence, while the other may encourage unhealthy behavior. Story 32. Grown adults are responsible for their own romantic lives. Saying single men need to be saved is a stupid and condescending attitude. Let people live and make their own choices. Story 33. Captain save a house over here. Do not help others unless they are willing to help themselves. We were all above it, but now we are down in it. Story 34. I do not think that is the case. It is a lot like playing a fighting game. Mashing the buttons does not work. I need a better strategy. We take a big step back and study dating and attraction. We learn the ropes, take better care of ourselves, and create a better presentation. Then we return to the game and start having better chances. Story 35. Women can sense it, and then you are pretty much in trouble unless you want to use your acting skills, which just feels disingenuous and rude. I would rather not. Story 36. My relative was single until 40 and did not date. He met a divorced coworker, and they fell in love. He is a sweet guy. They have been happily married for 2 decades. Story 37. I have achieved my goals. I am attractive, educated, well-traveled, have a good family, and am financially stable. While I will date for an event or social occasion, I am no longer interested in more than that because it is not what women my age want. It is what it is. Story 38. You kind of answered your own question. I have learned most things in life are as simple as they seem. It is rare for actors to learn to act. They can act because they focus on the skills they already have. Take a look at some auditions of actors who did not put in any effort. Those who will not be single never are. They seem to bounce from one person to another. This does not make them a great person. It just means they will not be single. The same goes for very nice people who should not be single but are, as they are just the type no one has any interest in. Some items made should be worth way more than they are because that is what society dictates. It is rare for a person to find their perfect balance of who they are and gain everything life allows them. Most miss the time to realize what they are very good at and what life will allow them access to. Story 39. We do not vary as much as we like to believe in what traits we find attractive. If you do not get any interest from the women you have met, it is unlikely that meeting more will help that much. Story 40. Because they do not know how. They do not know where to meet girls, how to attract girls, or even what to say to them. Story 41. Because that is when the majority of men figure out that being single is better and more fulfilling than the chase. They experience a type of woman fatigue where it is not worth keeping up the effort because the suspicion that there will not be any fulfilling return or reward for their effort starts to settle in. By that point, most men have been single for most of their lives, if not their entire lives, so finding a girlfriend or even forming relationships feels alien and out of place. Also, once men reach a certain age, hormones are not as potent as during the teenage years. As men get older, they become less sexually impulsive and mellow out. Priorities change and long-term happiness becomes more important. Many men do not want to compromise their happiness by risking a relationship where they are no longer fully in charge of their own lives because it brings many problems they are not prepared to cope with or handle. Relationships and dating are not vital for happiness or survival, and the longer a man stays happy without them, the more likely he is to avoid risking the peace he has built on a gamble on a relationship that is statistically likely to disrupt his solid life. Being single offers peace, happiness, security, and freedom that many men do not want to compromise or risk losing. It feels like there is too much to lose and too much at risk. Some men get extraordinarily lucky and find a good partner, but most do not. If my relationship fails, I have no intention of looking for another one because, honestly, I was not even looking when my girlfriend asked me out and we hit it off. I believe I have only one shot at this, and if it does not work, I do not have the spirit or willpower to try again. I have no issue being single forever if my relationship does not work out. Story 42. Do you know many older single men? I probably know one or two. The overwhelming majority of people do find someone. It may take time, but there is someone out there for everyone. Story 43. There is a reason why they hit rock bottom and do not have the ability or the courage to understand why and make adjustments. They become fixed in a comfortable position, even if it is at the lowest point. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.